I'm Rebecca Nye. I'm the Chief of Experience at Enovate, and I'll be hosting today's webinar. In just a moment, I will be handing it over to Camilo Mejía, the CEO of Enovate, who will be taking you through the presentation, followed by a live demonstration. We will do Q&A at the end of the session, so if you do have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat as we go through the presentation, and I'll be reading out as many questions as we can at the end. So I do ask everybody to remain on mute while we go through the presentation and the demonstration, and everybody has a chance to submit questions to me via the chat. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Camilo to start the presentation.
Everybody, thank you for joining the webinar today on production analytics, increasing production. The presentation is going to be in two sides. I'll walk you through some slides. It's going to take 10 minutes, and then Laura Santos, our product owner for production analytics, will do an online demo. We also have Osvaldo Perez, our senior production engineer, who will support us with all the concepts around production optimization and the questions. So I'm going to go straight to the presentation. I'm going to share my screen, and then we can deep dive into production analytics and economics. Can everybody see my screen now? Hope you can.
Yes.
Perfect. So let's just deep dive into it. So Enovate Upstream is a digital organization working around different components around digital twins, analytics. We are going to talk today about our production series. The production series is about forecasting economics and production analytics. Production analytics is the convergence of all the products. It's a digital twin that is aiming to support customers with all the production optimization opportunities that we have in the current market. As a context, a digital twin is basically a digital environment that replicates the reality of the asset. For the purpose of the conversation today, when we talk about the asset, we talk about the reservoir. And I'll show you how we connect subsurface and surface in order to create an end-to-end system. There are three components that we highlight for the demo today. The first one is the enhanced user interface. We are building software that is easy to use, software that is really easy to integrate, to plug into the customer's workflows, and the visualization is a key component in order to make decisions. The digital twin is about building that transparency in the digital environment to create an easier understanding of the conditions where they are at the subsurface or surface. The digital twin has predictive capabilities. We use a lot of digital components to optimize the process, automate the workflows, and create a predictive technology that can support decision making. At the end, the goal is about asset integration, how you can speed up the processes for optimization by having the connection between the reservoir modeling, the wellbore model, and all the connection with the surface measurements. So the digital twin is what we are going to talk about. It's about prescriptive decisions. We empower the customers with the information that is required to make decisions, and there are two different levels. What is the value that the software system digital twin offers to the customer right now? Is that simulation environment for asset management in order to make prescriptive decisions? The prescriptive decisions is about the opportunity to really identify key operational parameters to optimize whether the cost or the productivity that is required for the project is all around the baseline for operational optimization. That's the value for the customer. It's a digital environment that can simulate multi-factor, multi-scenarios in order to identify the best decisions for asset management. The tangible solution is about how we can operate the wells in a better way by having all the information in just one place. It's about extending the life of the asset. It's about extending the recovery of the productivity. And like we talked about the webinar today, it's about increasing production and the impacting the economics. And I'll show you specific cases why digital twins are impacting the economics of the asset in the current market. So the digital twin is about the connection between surface and subsurface. It's all the data sets that are required to properly understand the asset, to properly optimize the asset, to properly make decisions, having all the considerations into place. So we achieved this by deploying this particular technology through an SCADA system We have a partnership with different companies. We also work with different SCADA systems. Enovate is agnostic to the market. And the digital twin is about the connection between the reservoir modeling, where there are really strong competitors, but we were born in the digital space. It's an ultra-fast reservoir simulator with strong differentiators that Laura is going to showcase in a minute. We come up with, all the coupling algorithms that are required to connect the wellbore hydraulics, the artificial lift component, economics. Everything is fully connected in a digital environment and is enabled, and is going to be enabled by the real-time production data, but the data coming from the wells. So this is what we call a digital twin. In the past, from the 80s, from the 90s, the industry was trying to achieve something called digital oil field. We go to the next level by connecting all these pieces that are required for a digital model with the prescriptive capabilities. So why is that important? Why this is a difference in terms of how we look at the assets? This is actually one of our real cases from one of our customers. This is the traditional way, this is the status quo. It's different data sets coming from different wells. In this particular case, it's a path of 20 wells that are, there is a lot of data coming from every single well, goes into different packages. There is a lot of Excel in the process at different stages while you are analyzing, evaluating, while you're planning, while you're validating. Every single time customers run the optimization programs, they need to go several times through Excel, build the correlations, then go deploy in the field, come back to the plant. So that's the status quo, and that the status quo is coming from the particular silo approach in oil and gas. From the same customer, real result, and I'm going to show you in a minute the outcomes of the digital twin when it comes down to tangible components. This is actually the complexity, not only around cost, IT, but more important, the value creation that is required from the data. So in the market, there are several players, there are several components, there are different products. It's very time consuming. Engineers spend a lot of time in every single silo component within this value chain in order to put all the picture together. So the goal is about really, optimizing the time that is required to analyze all this data, to make decisions, and to increase the accuracy by having a real-time validation component. With this particular model, one of our customers in Latin America, they were able to optimize the depletion program in unconventionals, enhance the surface facility, and the optimization time compared with the status quo was about 40% of the time less in the evaluation. It was 40% less time in the optimization program. The ability to make decisions quicker and more reliable should lead to tangible outcomes when it comes down to efficiency, when it comes down to cost, and when it comes down to production optimization. Let's talk about economics and why we are talking about economics here. Laura is going to show you the demo why all this data is related to the economics component. This is from the Permian, West Texas, 6 wells from the same path. There are 3 conclusions that I want to show you today here. The first one is what we are doing in the industry with decline curve analysis, which is not really a reliable model for forecasting, and the difference with more numerical simulation that is ultra fast, that is connected in real time. So decline curve analysis will always either underestimate or overestimate the asset value. When it comes down to unconventionals, this is really relevant for different reasons. It could be the ROI component that we look into the assets. It is also related to the field development. It's also related to the optimization components. And the opportunity to really understand how all this data can actually support the optimization from an economical standpoint with touches on the operational component is really relevant. So these are the 6 wells. The 6 wells were presenting different production variability. You can see it in the left side. The yellow curve was the well that was shorter in the lateral length, less stages. The other wells were more alike when it comes down to the completion design. You can see some reservoir properties on completions wells that were part of the reality in the asset. They were part of the inputs for the numerical simulation as well. And then when we start looking at how we achieve a better understanding around the potential of the reservoir is when we start talking about key components. It's not a novelty to talk about numerical simulation in real time, but the ability to connect the numerical simulation, with the wellbore hydraulics, with the real-time production data is what we are going to showcase today. But in order to build that story and understand the production drivers and the economical impact, the first thing is to history match all this information and really understand what are the production drivers. When we talk about production drivers in a conventional, we talk about short-term, mid-term, and long-term production drivers. So doing the history matching through a numerical simulation, more physics-based approach for unconventionals, you can properly constrain those factors and have a better understanding around the potential of the well. We welcome everybody to read our SPE papers where we show different cases in terms of short-term productivity, which is flow rate, long-term productivity, which is EOR. And the main difference here that I'm gonna showcase, and Laura's gonna explain a little bit more from the software side, is the difference in the economical side using decline curve analysis and AI or the digital twin. You can see some economical factors on the left. You can see the difference around break-even oil price per well, and the difference is around the MVP value. There is an underestimation of about $2 million, which is quite significant if you only think about 6 wells, but if you extrapolate that to more values, it becomes even more relevant. So the tangible value is about really having a better understanding on how to evaluate the wells from a financial perspective. Decline curve analysis will always either underestimate or overestimate the value. The opportunity to have this digital twin connected with all the system will give you opportunity to properly constrain production drivers and make decisions for optimization. In this particular case, I'm talking about unconventionals, improving development plans and asset economics is a must going forward. I'm going to pass it on to Laura to do the demo, but I want to invite everybody to the follow-up webinar, which is going to be around artificial lift. Osvaldo is going to talk about gas lift specifically, and that will be an announcement coming out soon. So Laura, pass it on to you.
Perfect. So thank you, Camilo, and good morning, everyone. My name is Laura Santos, and today I'm going to present you the dashboard of production analytics. This is where we connect all the real-time data coming from the oil field operations with our reservoir models, our wellbore hydraulics model, and our financial analysis model. Everything integrated in real time. This is cloud-based, so it's highly accessible. Basically, you just need a device with an internet connection. Be either your cell phone, your tablet, your computer, any device of your preference. So this is highly accessible. It is ultra fast, and it is very, very intuitive. So let me walk you through the dashboard. So on the left-hand side of the dashboard, we have all the KPI analysis of the different variables involved to the well. For example, we have here on the left-hand side the wellhead conditions. We have the pressure, the temperature, and as you can see on the right-hand side of the dashboard, the plot is changing depending on which parameter you select. So you can have an understanding, a visual perspective of what is the change of the different variables through the time. You can identify the changes, the trend lines of the different variables. The same is for the case of the bottom hole conditions. You can have an understanding of what is the change in pressure and temperature on the bottom hole. And actually, this is a key differentiator in the industry, since almost no company has bottom hole measurements. They don't have the instrumentation, so that they don't do those kind of measurements. However, we have our own wellbore hydraulic simulator that allows us to do that conversion from the wellhead to the bottom hole. So we receive from the SCADA system the wellhead pressure, wellhead temperature, all the flow rates, oil rate, gas rate, water rate, and with our wellbore hydraulic simulator, we do the conversion to bottom hole conditions. So at the end, we'll have the bottom hole pressure, bottom hole temperature, that will help to recalibrate our models. And at the end, that will lead to a very accurate production forecast. And I will talk about that in a second. Also, we have at the bottom of the dashboard, the production performance. So it's performance of the well, depending on the production of the fluids, the oil production, water production, gas production. As you can see, this graphic on the middle of the dashboard is changing as we select the different fluids. So for example, here we have the oil production. We have the production rate, that is the light green on the screen, and the cumulative production, that is the dark green on the screen. So the dispersion that you see here on the plot, the circles, corresponds to the real-time data coming from the SCADA system. The real-time data coming from the oil field. And the solid line corresponds to the production forecast of our models. The same is for the case of the cumulative production. the dispersion corresponds to the real-time data coming from the SCADA system from the oil field, and the solid line corresponds to the forecast of our models. Our dashboard has the capability to let the users know when the production is deviating from the forecast. So let's say the real-time production, the real production is deviating from the forecast. We can let the users know that it's deviating from the forecast and alert them that maybe something is going on. And actually here, next to the online word, we have the button for event log. So event log is where we show to our users the different alerts, and actually they can download them. So they have them on their own computers. So this is a very useful tool in terms to alert the users. But you may be thinking, yeah, the production is deviating from the forecast, but what are the models that we use for the forecast? And that was what Camilo was talking about. But it depends on what type of reservoir we're doing. So for the case of conventional, there's the DCA, the decline curve analysis, that's been widely used in the industry for over the decades. It was designed for conventional reservoirs, therefore is highly accepted in the industry. However, for the unconventional reservoirs, we have our physics-based simulator. And why did we decide to use the physics-based simulator instead of the DCA? And it is because, as I mentioned, the DCA was for conventional reservoirs. Therefore, there are certain assumptions that are not met for the case of unconventional. For the case of unconventional, we have our physics-based model that it includes all the reservoir properties, fluid properties, fracture properties, and the completion design. So we have an accurate estimation, an accurate representation of what the reservoir can give us in terms of production forecast. So we don't use DCA because DCA, as I mentioned, was designed for conventional. There are some assumptions that are not met in the case of unconventional, and our physics-based model is more properly for unconventional reservoirs. And actually, the production forecast is a key part in terms of economic analysis. It has a significant impact of what is the net present value of your project. And actually, we have two KPIs here in our dashboard. We have the EOR KPI, the estimated recovery, that tells us about how much can we produce from that specific well, and the net present value. That net present value includes all the oil price, gas price, CapEx, OpEx, and discount rate related to the well. And it is in real time. So it's very important to have this connected with the SCADA system, since we are understanding what are all of those changes in production, in pressure, that can affect the different models and can affect the production forecast. And at the end, that have a significant impact from a financial perspective. Also, in the dashboard at the bottom part, we have the WOR, the water oil ratio, the water cut. So the water cut is a very important factor in the development of a well, since we are producing a lot of water. The water management has been a key part in all of the well development. We have the GOR, that is the gas oil ratio. That is an important feature for the reservoir engineering perspective. Also, we have the production history plot, the bar chart at the bottom of the dashboard. We have the monthly production in terms of the three fluids that the well produces: the gas, the oil, the water. You can have the whole production history of the well, or you can select a specific time frame. So let's say you just want to see the production from 2020. So you just click January 2020. So 1 year will be January 2021. And the plot is dynamic. So it will show you the production from a monthly basis from January 2020 till December 2020. And actually you can expand the plot if you want a more detailed representation of the behavior of the production. The same capability is on the other plots. For example, you want to see the oil production in more detail, you can expand the plots. Same for the other plots. So this is the analytics tab. We have also a wellbore tab. We implement our wellbore hydraulic simulator. So I was mentioning we have the wellhead conditions, right? Pressure and temperature coming from the SCADA system. But with our wellbore hydraulic simulator, we can convert it into bottom hole conditions. We are not only giving you the value of pressure and temperature at bottom hole conditions, we are giving you the whole profile of pressure and temperature. Also, with our wellbore hydraulic simulator, we can create the BLP curves, the vertical lift performance curves, that along with the IPR curve from our reservoir model, are a key factor, since they intersect, gives the operating point for that specific well. So because it's integrated in real time with the SCADA system. We are giving the users an updated operating points for the well in real time. So as you can see, this dashboard is very interactive, very user-friendly, very easy to use, and it's a valuable tool in order to give the user the ability to make proper decisions, informed decisions, because we're giving them the ability to understand better the reservoir, to understand better the wellbore. And at the end, that will lead to better decisions that enhance production and optimize production, reduce costs. And at the end, that will lead to maximize the life of your asset and of course the value of your asset.